Good evening and a warm welcome to everyone. I'm Debbie Choa, your moderator for the evening, and I'm currently the Executive Director at Project 57, a social enterprise which aspires to influence the next generation of youth towards nation building. And a special mention and thank you to Milestone Production and Malaysian Retail Chain Association, who have organized this event in partnership with Alliance Bank. And it is my pleasure and honor to have with me Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz, former Minister in Government for 31 years, including 22 years as Malaysia's longest serving Minister of International Trade and Industry, and prior to that, 4 years as Deputy Minister of Finance from 1977. Good evening, Tan Sri, and thank you so much for spending your evening with us.
Thank you.
Tan Sri, I know that you are known as Rapid Fire Rafidah and the Iron Lady for your forthrightness. But I have also heard you say that the reason why you spend your time sharing your opinions, even though you're retired, is because you love this nation and because you still have a heart to build Malaysia. So, you know, at Project 57, we're always asked if there is hope for better Malaysia. So I wanted to ask you, Tan Sri, as Malaysia emerges and battles from the pandemic into recovery, is there hope? And what can we look forward to with the opening up of the economy?
Well, you're asking the wrong person. I'm not in the government. You should ask those people in government what they have plans for you and for the country, right? But anyway, I always say there's hope as long as the people realize what they need to do. And as long that people who are in charge understand what's the problem, how to solve them, and have longer term vision rather than, you know, looking at it short term. You know, if I can get the vote today, can I get the vote tomorrow? With that, where you politicize everything. So my answer would be that I have hope because the young people of today, I think they're more serious about the country. And I do know that if you don't focus, you know, you only pick on the trivialities and butter up things, you know, embellish everything, statistics and so on, you won't get the real story. So now let us be honest with ourselves. We are not really in good shape because we're still in the pandemic. There's a lot of collateral damage that's been done by the COVID. And this collateral damage will be in the economic sector, the socio-economic sector, the social and health sector, education sector. And along those lines, you see that entities in those sectors are badly affected, especially the small and medium enterprises. So I suppose today you would like to talk about that, you know, because you cannot, I don't believe in starting, let's say, the 12 Malaysia plan or whatever it is, on the premise that we are going to do much better. We target there, when in fact we are not on firm ground. It's like trying to build a high-rise building without checking the geological condition down there. Now the foundation of Malaysia is being eroded already. One thing because of COVID and the impact, and secondly because of policies that are not coherent. You know, that has caused some problems there. So in other words, we have to rebuild that foundation. Only then can you talk about the future. But I'm hopeful because everybody realizes that this is not the way to go. So that gives me hope, at least I as a citizen. So we have to talk along along that line, you know, rather than be cheerful and say, oh yeah, there's opportunity. Of course there are opportunities. But are we in a position, Malaysia, to even optimize those opportunities? Are we in a position to actually deliver? Because we are still suffering from the impact of the COVID. That's important. Right. And in fact, nobody has yet done, I must tell you, nobody has done a coherent presentation to the country as to what impact has the COVID on the economy and society and so on. It comes in bits and pieces, you know. The SME Association has come out to say that already 100,000 SMEs have closed down, possibly for good. Another 50,000 will be closing down by end October. That's not a good sign. There's 150,000. All right, okay, if give and take 10, 20,000, still anything like 100,000 or around there is bad. Because you multiply by how many, then you get how many millions will be out of jobs. When they are out of jobs, families, get embattled in the sense that they cannot survive, literally. They're living in rented houses and so on. So in other words, we have to be very realistic and start with the foundation that we have now. Repair that foundation. Only then can you talk about future economic outlook.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So where would you advise us? How would we go back and rebuild and start this foundation?
First of all, each one will have to understand. You're in SME. Which category are you? Are you a own account entity, meaning that you run your own business, let's say a retail network, right? Where you're not serving anybody but customers and you're buying for some wholesaler or from manufacturer? Or are you the medium enterprise that is part of a production value chain? For example, if you are producing components or services for the manufacturing of electronic parts, then your business depends on whether the guy at the end there, the big manufacturing entity, is surviving. If that electronics company has gone bust, you're affected, right? So you have now to look at yourself. I don't think it's good to speak for everybody. It doesn't apply to everybody in the same manner. No doubt we are living in a new normal, they call it. You have to understand what the new normal is for everybody. Then look at the new normal as it relates to your particular business. A restaurant business, new normal is completely different from the new normal of a business that is dependent upon the market of the end user, which means you are an entity in the value chain. Different. No doubt there are commonalities, SOPs and so on and so on. But that's only one part. We are talking about long-term strategies. So you cannot just advise one-liner, use IT. The small guys, unless he is or she is a retailer that delivers direct to consumer, there is a possibility of going online, correct? That too, if he or she can make the right investments, understand what retail network or retailing via online can do. But some cannot do online. If you are manufacturing components and parts, very high tech, for some airline industry producer, how can you go online? Not possible, right? So that is what I mean, looking at it from the broader spectrum, but then cutting it down, percolating it down into relevance for each subsector, not sector, subsector. So SME is a mix of sectors in Malaysia. And you must remember, we're not talking about the stalls, that's micro. We are talking, SME is about 50 million turnover, correct? Medium, by definition.
Yes.
And that's not small. In other words, you are actually, it's imperative upon you rather, to look at what's happening in the environment elsewhere. How do SMEs of your category cope elsewhere? How do they manage to retain markets while everything is shut down? We may be shutting down, for all you know, in other countries, that particular area that you are servicing was not closed down. So while you are not able to deliver because you're forced to close, right? When your neighbors or other countries, that sector was allowed to run, your market is gone. Your market is gone already. It's only 1 year plus. So you have to evaluate. So unless this is evaluated, no point having seminars, how to go forward, when you should be looking what's behind you.
Right.
Like I said, you can plan, have an architect to plan 20-story building, but you don't even bother to get a geologist to look at what's underground there. Can you do the piling? All right. Is the ground solid? Is it brittle? Is it water there? You see? So you have a Tough Malaysia plan that tells you A, B, C, D, E, F without looking at the baseline first. Yeah, we'll grow at 5%, but what was the baseline? Was it 0? Was it -3? Your business, we expect to grow 10% next year. Very good. But from which point did you start? Last year, you were not producing anything. So my bottom line is be real. Especially business, be real. Do your analysis properly before you even talk about future economy. This present one. Some people got to do post-mortem because they're dead already, the business. But some still, moving around, fine. Do an analysis so that you can put in whatever necessary. If it's IT programs, so be it. Changing your delivery system, so be it. Improving your technology process, so be it. This now is the time to do this before the year is out, They have this 3 months or so to actually analyze.
Right.
Because many have been so long.
Yeah. So, okay. So for each business, we need to go back, and your advice is to go back and look into what we've been doing and analyzing it in depth.
Analyzing how the lockdowns have impacted you.
Yes.
Where it has impacted you, and how do you remedy that? That's first. Give yourself 1 month or so to do that.
Right.
Bearing in mind that there are ways moving forward once you got this right. Right? You have to again relook where you stand in the value chain, like I mentioned just now. Look at what other markets are open. If you are always in this Malaysian market, isn't it time for you to go out of Malaysia? Or if you're too small to have that resilience, to have that capacity to service a bigger market, would it not be time for you to find partners? Joint venture partners amongst yourselves. Instead of having a $2 million business, $3 million turnover, you can grow it to 10 because you can merge. Now is the time to look at collaboration, because obviously with collaboration, there can be strength. And you are in an association that allows you to pick and choose people who are entrepreneurs, like-minded, and the enterprise that complement each other or strengthen each other.
So bringing it out on a broader basis, like as a nation, right? Some of the lessons that we've learned, what do you think are some of the main lessons that we can harness, and so that we can emerge stronger and more resilient? So of course, earlier your advice is to look into our own individual businesses, but also from the nation as a whole. What might some of those lessons be?
I tell you what, we all have to learn lessons. So at macro level, macro level, right? Micro is you, us. Macro are the powers that be. Whoever makes the decisions, whoever makes all the programs and put in place the policy measures. I would like to go back to the detail first. Why talk about the government when you have no say in it?
Okay.
Come on, I told you to be realistic. The members are all people who probably have to close down or just about to open, right? Gasping for breath. Of course, there's some who are surviving. Well done. Very good. You're lucky. So what you need to do now at the micro level first. Now is the time to pause. Where are your weaknesses? I'm sure you've heard about this SWOT analysis, SWOT, right? Normally we apply to industry. Now you apply it to your own selves, to your own business. Do the micro level. What are the strengths that you haven't been able to garner yourself and your business? What are the weaknesses, yourself and your business? And what are the opportunities? And that one don't even need to be lectured upon. They are everywhere if you seek it out. Threats. These are internal as well as external. Some internal threats, nobody can help you except yourself. Like I said in the beginning, you keep talking about women business is a threat, which means that you're not looking at it objectively. No, seriously. When gender comes in, race comes in, bumi, tak bumi, that's a threat, isn't it? To objectivity in doing business, objectivity in marketing. So these are the things you have to incorporate. Of course, yourself, nobody can help you except to understand that you were wrong because you didn't approach it like this, you didn't do this or something like that, right? Everybody have got different weaknesses and strengths. But your strength you have already, otherwise you wouldn't be in business. So build on that strength based on the new imperatives in the marketplace. What do you need to do more to become stronger as an entity? And this collectively, you can think about it. I'm not going to lecture to you, but within the association, have sessions that deal only with that. Managing in crisis, planning in crisis. Be more practical. I'm a very practical person. I can talk theory for hours. I was lecturing for 10 years, so lecturing is not a problem, but it's doing it for you that's important. I can just advise, but are you all prepared to sit down and seriously look at the SWOT analysis impact on you and your businesses? And I tell you, once you get that going, in the shortest time possible, you'll be able to be ready once the economy opens up again. And when borders are lifted and markets outside the country can be assessed again. But right now, let's not moan and groan. Now is the time to prepare. People like me can moan and groan because I'm not in business, So I moan and groan and tell the government, this is wrong, that's what's wrong. Coherence and, their planning lah. So the planning of the government should filter down in terms of impact on people like the SME sector.
So Tan Sri, during this time, also there's more awareness lah, even amongst SMEs and corporates about issues such as sustainability and
that's something I'm coming up. I'm talking about food.
Okay.
First of all, before you go that far, just talk about now COVID and post-COVID first lah, step by step. Okay. So once you've done your SWOT analysis, you're ready for the next phase. Now, what does the next phase mean? One, that is what is globally called as the new normal. And the new normal is not about SOPs and 6 feet apart or that, that's health-wise, right? That's about keeping healthy and safe. The new normal now are ways of doing things that have changed. Like conferences like this, you don't need to rent a hall already. You can gather thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
You see, that's a new normal for those who are mounting all those conferences before. They don't need to have lunch, dinner, whatever, right? No tea break, nothing.
Yes.
Just straight to the point. That's a new normal for one sector. Then I told you retail. Another new normal is to add on in-house dining with delivery. We can be a regular source of income once people get used to being delivered. The food, no need to go to the shop. I'm talking at retail sector, but then you go upwards. There are many ways that people have to change their business models in order to suit into the post-pandemic new normal. Okay? Now, after that, the imperatives of the marketplace have changed and continuously changed, even with the COVID. For example, we now have this 3Ps bottom line. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
Right? The 3Ps bottom line is profits, which is, I don't have to teach you, you're in business, not for charity to make money, right? Or the financial bottom lines. Second bottom line is people. The marketplace globally, regionally, even in Malaysia, are very concerned about how you treat people. Your workers, wages, women, no discrimination, no marginalization. So if you want to make quick buck and employ some illegal workers, you're going to get into trouble. And if you're going to export, worse trouble. Maybe you can get away like in Malaysia, for a while. But once you export and they check on you, the traceability, you find that you'll be working using illegals and paying them minimum wages below what is acceptable in the country, you're dead. Market for you is closed. This happened in Bangladesh, remember? Adidas and all that had to pull out. Okay, so that's the first, people. Then you have planet as a second. Planet, that's where the sustainability comes in. Where you're not just looking after yourself, your workers, but you're also looking at the environment within which you operate. If you ask somebody, your business requires exploitation of minerals, exploitation of some resources that finally gets processed to make whatever you do, furniture, right? Or even jewelry like Pokong just now, sourcing diamonds and sourcing gold. Now people have traceability that looks at how that mineral, that basic resource is exploited. Not in Malaysia only, but overseas. How did you get your timber? Was it through sustainable timber development? Meaning that you don't just fell all the trees and leave it like that for erosion to come in? Or is there stewardship of the forest? Meaning that you fell all the timber, replaced with new forest, planted forest, that is. Meaning that the soil is intact, so that no water goes into the river and kill all the fish, and forever there's no more river. This is sustainability. And exploitation of minerals to go into your jewelry or whatnot. Your members, I saw it, pokok macam-macam kan, baju. Polyester and so on. It's no longer vogue, right? So these are the things that are determining market acceptance today. Even in Malaysia, it's beginning to show. What more outside, right? So while you are doing your post-COVID SWOT analysis, you must simultaneously look at the demands of the marketplace as it is now. Sustainability. Sustainability is not about care of environment. It has to get translated into what you do. And environment sustainability now has got two other aspects, not just planet, but people. Don't forget. Yes. So unless you understand the ramifications of these three bottom lines on each business that you do, in the future, your competitors will overtake you because they subscribe to it. At the moment, there are no particular laws except for the universal ones, you know, that disallow use of resources that can be traced to some illegal mining or whatever. They don't do it as a matter of routine now. In Malaysia, not yet, right? They only go and catch the miner. Yeah, but they don't realize that
awareness. I think the awareness is growing though.
Growing, yes.
All these issues.
But awareness growing, no point. The government must come in with the laws so that the traceability factor deters people from buying from these illegal mines. You understand?
Yes.
Traceability. So in other words, the marketplace now demands that the traceability factor is so important. If people can trace where you source things from, where your workers come from, how you treat them, that's going to impact acceptability in the marketplace. It doesn't matter who you are. As I've said, if you are part of the value chain, servicing intermediary as an intermediary to a big guy, that traceability will catch you too. Because you supplied whatever component to the big, right? To the big company. And so this is what the future is. The future, no longer the future, it is now. That's what it is now. The 3 Ps. Sustainability must be given real meaning. You know, right now we talk about sustainability. Very seronok lah, one word. No. Don't make grandmother statements. That sustainability has got so many implications.
So for SMEs, where do we start? You know, like looking at these 3 Ps, because it's so wide ranging and it's always looked at the cost factor and momentous, you know. Yeah.
Wait, why are you negative to start with? You're going to be negative, slow shop lah. No, the fact that others can do it, why can't you? That's my credo in life. It's either way you want to or you don't. I mean, you start to say, how? That's the end of the story lah. Why do I waste my time telling what I'm saying? That there are opportunities out there that can you optimize, provided you subscribe to the imperatives of the marketplace. Right? If you fail to meet the marketplace demands as it is now and the future, no need to talk about business. There are your competitors outside there. So that's why I said do your SWOT analysis. One of the weaknesses is like this, like attitude, you know, how to do. Well, if others can do it, why can't you? I don't understand. If the Thais, same size business in Thailand, same size business in Vietnam, in Indonesia, India, they can do it. Why can't we? We are even better off in terms of, you know, being a smaller country, right?
Yes.
And easier to manage. That's how I look at it. We had a head start, but now we move back already lah.
So very good advice from you, Tan Sri. So what I'm hearing is do your SWOT analysis, look at the new normal of doing things and see how, you know, what you can do in your own business, and also look at the 3 Ps and make sure that you have a positive attitude and be wanting to do it, basically.
That one comes in the SWOT analysis. I told you, strength of yourself, your business. Weakness, yourself, your weakness. Didn't I say that? I want to repeat, isn't it? I didn't say business only. I said you, because it all begins with you, the entrepreneur.
Right.
Your mindset,
our attitude and mindset.
Yeah. And your workers will see. If you are a negative attitude, apathetic, so your workers and your staff, if they see you energetic and willing to gung-ho to move forward in the right way, they will be motivated to go gung-ho too, right? Because they know there's a future for them. You get bonus, salary increase. So you get translated into human terms. But most of us want to do theory. You know what I mean? Have forum, seminar like this and then go back, enough. Hooray, hooray. No. Go back and do it. Go back and, I mean, don't be shy about ticking off weaknesses. Don't be shy about identifying weaknesses. Unless we rectify the weaknesses of ourselves, our team, and the business, we can't move, right? It's not about business only, even governments, any organization. The SWOT analysis is so important. It takes you back to where it should be.
Tan Sri, about the 12 Malaysia plan, which I know you mentioned earlier that,
Yeah.
well, I just want to know, what do you make of the plan, and maybe
It's a
something
plan.
good for you.
It's a plan. It's a plan. As I've said, some of those things have a very weak basis. You work on figures, look at where the base starts. We are from a minus stage, The plan should enable us to go to the positive stage first before looking at the growth in any area, right? There's nothing to show how you're going to treat the unemployed. According to statistics, there's 7 million unemployed now. I didn't say that. There's statistics that show, Nobody, I don't see in the plan, right? Did you see how you're going to give jobs to the 7 million?
Yeah, I mean the details lah.
Exactly, the plan must have details. Look, I've been in government, I told you over years, right? Don't know what Malaysia plan we're doing. We always make sure that the details are there. Not just one liner, not just 2 paragraphs, sweet talk. For example, you want to build these homes that you can own. Who's going to buy them? Those people who could afford to buy are now no longer able to afford them. Why? They're out of jobs. Their own present homes, they're renting, they can't pay. Has anybody done a survey before doing that? Before announcing you're going to build how many tens of thousands of homes, rent and own? Have they discovered how many analyzed do? It's not difficult to do the study, because we all have districts, remember? Districts, kampung. All you need to do, get the government servant there, the O's office, to do a survey. How many in that, like Kuala Kangsar, 36,000 rakyat there? How many of them have been evicted from rented homes? How many of them have gone out of job? If every district you study in that context, post-COVID and during COVID, what are the negative impact? Then you just collate for the whole country. Then you have a good picture. Now, you have graduates who come out and no jobs. Not because the economy cannot provide jobs, but because people have closed down their businesses, right? And some of these foreign businesses have gone away from Malaysia. Electronics and so on. So these guys were hoping to work in these places. Now no more. So what are you going to do about this unemployed, qualified unemployed? I don't see any remedy there, any approach to do that. Have you?
But I mean, like, I have, moving on to youths, right? Because you mentioned youths, and also that they are the hope, right? So, for example, I have a teenage son who's in college, and then he'll be going to university, and he'll be entering the workforce. What do I tell him when to encourage him to stay in Malaysia and not go off, not leave this country?
I tell you, you go overseas, I don't think now there are open arms, because their own youth are all hard pressed to get a job too. Surely it's US first, UK first, wherever first lah. Australia first, right? Unless you're born there and so on. So it's like Malaysia. There's always this Malaysians first, right? And rightly so. Not because we're so cloistered under the tempurung, because times are hard. So if we have a choice, we give to Malaysians first. Employment, correct? But that is no guarantee either. If the Malaysians are not qualified in the right area, there are foreigners who apply. They get the foreigners because they want to restart the business quickly. There's no time for sentiments of nationalism, when times are hard like that, right? I mean, come on, they are realistic. Why take a young, fresh graduate who doesn't understand anything yet when there is already a ready-made 3-year experience foreigner or something like that applying, they take that one, right? Pay is the same. Because that one is hard pressed for a job, and this young Malaysian. I've got grandchildren of your child's age. They're going to graduate soon. One graduated a lawyer already, thank God, working, but the other one is graduating soon. So I'm not sure where to get a job.
So when I say, oh, you know, stay in Malaysia, and like you said, Malaysia first, because when you go overseas, there will still be a lot of challenges, right? But when it comes to Malaysia, how can we encourage them? I mean, like Project 57 as well, we meet a lot of youths. And of course, some of them want to stay, and some of them are like, they feel very negative about Malaysia. So this future outlook, I mean, like you mentioned, unemployment is almost at 5%. So what is the way out? You know, how can we get back to...
Look, the government should be thinking, it should be addressing the government, like, you know, where, first of all, if you know what the ailments are, it's like a sick person, right? You must know what is a person ailing with, right? Is it sakit pinggang? Is it backache, stomach ache, headache, migraine, or what? If it's a migraine, you don't go and treat the hands. It's a broken bone, you don't give aspirin, correct? Stomach ache, you don't, you give the right medication. In other words, it must be appropriate. So now we're talking about employment. It's not about you know, new employment. It's about getting people re-employed. It's a big difference there. Right? The unemployed, the retrenched at all levels. That's the one we should be catering for. I see nothing. Yeah, you can create 5% whatever like employment, yeah. But amongst whom? You see? We are talking about people already committing suicides, never at the level before. People hard pressed. No analysis has been done. You know, that's what I feel sorry. No analysis has been done thoroughly. In fact, we have ministers, deputy ministers should be looking at this. Nobody has. Evaluating the social side, economic side, employment side, education side. None, zero. How can you look at the future with not knowing what the present really looks like?
So, I mean, of course, the government mentions things like, you know, becoming a high-income nation and then driven by technology.
Come on lah. I thought economics, okay, for 10 years, so don't have to tell me about your rubbish. High-income nation, yeah. What does it mean? Ask them, what does it mean? What's the point of high income level, very high, when it is really the pushing up of the level by a group up there who become billionaires because of the COVID? And suddenly all the parity is a higher level, right? But the one down there have sunk below. I mean, let's get out of this talk about high income nation. I would rather have a middle and high middle income population that can give the vibrance to the economy. That's more meaningful, isn't it? When those at these lowest levels now are raised to meaningful levels of living with incomes, what do you call this, life-related incomes, you know? Living wages, they call it. But some are not wages. They are own account workers. So, but whatever it is, policies that are targeted so that eventually in a few years, these people rise up to a certain level that automatically raises the income profile of the nation, of the people. Don't use one word statement. Like, you know, I get very upset when I see these one-liners, these motherhood statements, you know. We want to be high-income nation. We want to be keluarga Malaysia, you know, like keluarga Malaysia, and yet you're not Melayu, you know, you're not bumi. You pendatang. Your own keluarga, you treat like that. I mean, you see, once you say something else and you do something else. You're not Islam, you halal or you haram. That's not the way for Malaysian. Even your adopted child, you say, that's my child. You see, No, because I don't like these one motherhood statements all over. No.
Totally
Why?
understandable.
No,
Totally
wait. Because
understandable.
when people only read motherhood statement, you give them false hopes.
Yeah,
False
totally
hopes is the first
understandable,
thing.
Tan Sri. I wanted to also go a little bit into the Q&A. So if anybody has questions, please
Yeah,
put
they
it
can
on
project it there. Yeah.
share, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I just want to touch on women and your advice to women, right? Especially the younger generation, because earlier on also you were talking a lot about the right mindset. So women, how can the younger generation, right? Like how
I
can
tell
we
you what,
equip ourselves?
I already told you, let's get gender out of the equation, okay? Let's get
Right.
gender, race, and faith out of any equation. When you do that, this country will move forward. Okay, you promise me that, I will talk. Because the moment the factor of gender, race, and faith comes in, it distorts the whole picture. And that's where all the aberrations come in. Even corruption and bribery is made halal if it's mutually agreeable to each other. You see, they distort religious teachings to suit their nasty deeds. Now, so going back to this gender, don't talk about women, talk about business people. There's no difference between a woman or a man in entrepreneurship, right? It's you, the individual. As I've said, nobody cares who owns the shop, who owns the product, who makes the product. They don't care. They look at the product, the value for money. Correct. And whether subscribe or not to all the rules, whether it's poison schedule, like do cosmetics, whether all your cosmetic products are adhering to the Poisons Act, right? Under schedule, you mustn't add this, mustn't add that. These are the things people want to know. They don't care whether it's a man who makes who cares? Did you all know that Yves Saint Laurent is a man? Did you ever stop to think? No, right? Talking about brand names lah. Did you know that Bata is a man? Because I met him. I met Bata. That's why I can tell. So these people just become successful. So why are we harping on the women? Okay, forget it. So now, what the young people, the young Malaysians, whether man, woman, whatever faith, whatever religion, whatnot, doesn't matter. The young Malaysians have a lot of things going. Why? Because they're living in an era where the support facilities are available. ICT rather. Mostly IT lah. Huh? The communication is different. Talking about IT. The whole spectrum is up to them. They want to learn or not. Right? And apply it optimally in what they do. Even in studying. Add on. You need tuition sometimes, to get new knowledge. They can even teach the teacher. After all, you can Google everything. My God. Correct? All the technicalities is all there in front of you. So that puts them in a better place than people like me, because we didn't have anything. We had to go to the library. Not even our own cannot afford. Stand library queue. But still, we make full use. If our young people don't make full use positively all the IT in their power, in their hands, instead of going Instagram, chit chat, TikTok, whatever, well, they're going to be nowhere. I mean, I saw that video of this Indian boy, right, being paid, tens of thousands of US dollars per month, 13 years old, by Google, right? Because he was a programmer and he does all this technical stuff, and he was being interviewed. So fluent, so knowledgeable. And of course, I'm very heartened because our young Malaysians are all over the world, making a name for themselves, which is really something that should be proud of. We should congratulate them. And on top of that, we should remind the young. Tell them, hey, look, your colleagues, your contemporary, you don't know her, you don't know him, but they're doing well in America, getting international awards, which means that they have availed themselves of all the support facilities there. And I don't mean support facilities, scholarship, I don't mean that. I mean as afforded by IT, right? And all these newfangled approaches to acquiring knowledge and skills. And of course, when they're very good, there are sponsorships. Big companies don't mind sponsoring them. I mean, it's such an asset to the company later on when they come back, right? So that's the kind of motivation we have to plant in our young people today. That by the time they finish studies, we hope that the country will be more stable. And then the future will be for them. I mean, people like me, we came from the times of emergency, you know, not yet independent, the communists killing everybody around everywhere. But there were times when that we phase out and we become independent and we have our own development, and then things look rosier and become rosier. So this with the young people, I'm positive, given the right policies put in place and the right attitude amongst them. You know, it's like having a nice dish in front, they don't eat. What's the problem? What's the point? No,
I mean, in fact, the youths are very innovative and very creative. Like,
so innovative, correct. But innovation must be properly given proper connotation, you know.
Yes, yes.
Innovative, creating some rubbish and nonsense, tak payahlah. But innovative in enhancing knowledge and skills, please do it. We're not interested, that people are not interested in how many A's you get now, you know. After all, universities are giving out 600 over PhDs in 1 year, so who cares about PhD anymore?
Okay, I'm just going to put out a note to everyone. If you have any questions, you know, for Tan Sri said that she likes taking questions. So if you have any questions, you know, just put them on the Q&A or
on the screen, yeah.
There is a question here. Should we get more into current trends? For example, to adopt digital green tech, and what can we do to adopt these?
That's a motherhood statement, lah. You adopt whatever the market demands of you in your business. You know, green tech is one motherhood, two motherhood words, which means that it's just a nice, you know, happy birthday. You forget to ask how old. Correct? Happy birthday. 100 years old, 10 years old, doesn't matter. Happy birthday. That's not it. Understand what that green technology entails in your business.
But how do we, okay, from the motherhood statements, right, Tan Sri, how do we translate it down into something real?
First of all, understand how it is relevant to your business, your sector. And I told you already what it all means. So sustainability, 3 Ps, remember? That's what the green technology involves. Because the moment it is about care for the environment, then you must look at how processes are being performed in your kilang, your factory. Do you have your effluents, all the dirty toxic waste going to the river, to the drain first? Correct? Is your chemical mixture not being kept properly? Somebody takes a lorry and just dump it into the sea somewhere, or into some rubbish area and kill off people as well, you know, or some toxic waste that's not managed the way it should be. Process is one thing, but residuals, you see, so in your industry, you have to check, you have to understand from A to Z, what is the, what's involved in your process. So in other words, if your old technology produces a lot of toxicity out in the effluents, it's time to change. If your old technology is not efficient, which uses a lot of electricity, right? Consumes too much water, strain our environment or your cost as well, find the latest technology where substitution can occur. So the process is more efficient and cheaper by far, and not costing anything to the environment and to the people in the environment. So that's how you translate it, not one motherhood statement. At my level, I can have one motherhood statement. I'm not doing your business. But it's wrong for me to even say that. I'll be irresponsible. I just say, oh, green technology. My God. Then I get away with it. Cannot.
Someone asked, are electric cars the way forward?
We've had electric cars for a long time. All the electronic buggies at a golf course. I was playing golf for 20 over years, right? we were using electric wagis all the time, no noise, nothing. It's not new. It's just that today the electric cars are much more efficient, right? They've upgraded the technology such that it's more efficient and it's more environment friendly, and of course more expensive lah. But obviously over time, when the demand picks up and the market is so big, all the prices, unit price will be going down, because unit cost will go down too. But please don't try to make your own electric car lah, because there are others ahead of you like Tesla and all that who spend millions and hundreds of millions doing the technology and research, and they've come up. You just want to start like it's like having a trishaw lah, electric trishaw lah. I mean, some of us don't even think that way, you know, and then ask government for grant. We are not in the business of asking people to reinvent the wheel, surely.
Okay, Tan Sri, there's another question. Back to the impact of the current pandemic affecting our country's economy. What are the best measures for us to recover? So I know you mentioned earlier SWOT analysis and the new normal.
I tell you what, I know, if you all care, you all have Facebook, whether you just go and check all. I've been writing on this at length, in detail. My Facebook, Rafidah Aziz, Malaysian citizen. You can read it in detail. But in short, I just say that, first of all, look at what the impact has been on the health side. You know, the COVID infections, how many deaths and all that. Secondly, what the collateral damage. I use the word collateral damage, easy to see. One, as a result of economic lockdowns, what industries, what sectors have been affected? How were they affected? Hotels closed down. How many retrenched? Factories closed down. How many retrenched, right? And not just that, along the line, as I've said, there are people who service these industries, all the intermediaries. Have they closed down too? Again, how much employment? How much affected effect on the GDP, right? Which means that they're going to be bringing the GDP level down. And you go down all the subsectors, export-oriented sectors. How many have asked, because they were told to close down for some months? I have people who were asking me to help because they were producing the steel structures to Singapore. And they were told to close down, when in fact they have a contract to fulfill. They vaccinate all their workers, but still cannot. That sector closed down. And these buyers in Singapore are saying, hey, we have this construction going on, you know. If you don't provide us, we'll terminate your contract. Does anybody analyze how many of our suppliers like that are affected because the lockdown, lockdown, lockout, you know? Nah, nobody has studied. The timber industry, the steel industry. These are major in the hotel industry. Today, billions have been lost as a result of the tourism entities suffering. Just today, the report came out from the minister, no less, you know, talking. In other words, collate all this into one picture so that we know what's happening, right? So that all of you SMEs servicing all these big industries will understand where you are, right? You can't just have piecemeal. Today, one minister said this, tomorrow another minister said, collate everything so that we have a total profile of the damage on the economy and the damage socially. Like, for example, mental health. This is a very serious problem globally now.
Yes.
Find out how many, because it's going to affect families, children, right? Education, prolonged closure of schools and colleges and so on. They have lost 1 year plus of education. You cannot recoup that, you know. Nothing can replace the actual in-house or rather physical education delivery, right? Cannot replace, not effective at all. So, has the Education Ministry looked at this very seriously? How many people, how many students have actually fallen back in performance? Of course, easy. You can always upgrade, you know what I mean? You can up the curve and make sure everybody pass. Lower the standard. That's not it. If they need to fail, then you fail them, but understand why and remedy. Otherwise, you get failure grade being given B. What's the point? And then they go to the marketplace, they fail in the interview. Nobody takes them. Double frustration. So these are analysis that needs to be done. It's not done. Not too late, must do. Because you're going to employ these people. Correct.
Yes, our youngsters, right? There's a question also talking about our youths. What do you think our youth strengths are? So like, we're going to be employing them. Like, for example, is it the fact that they are multilingual? What are some of the things that...
Well, let me put it this way. No, first of all, they should have the motivation to work, right? Very, very important, that they want to work, they want to earn their own living, right? Meaning that they have the education, they want to learn. And then there is that, apart from motivation, we have the facilities to enable them to enhance the skills as they go on. I told you ICT is a very good facilitator. Then thirdly, there must be, within the economy itself, entrepreneurs who are willing to take these fresh graduates or fresh college graduates or university, whatever level it is, and be prepared to make them learn extra. Maybe they're not highly familiar with computers, okay, because they're busy studying other things. Give them a bit of coaching classes on computerizing, digitization of some of the processes that involve it in the work. Not everybody knows how to do it, because computers may be very well used, but not for all these things. It's used for IT, for Instagram, right? Facebook, correct? Or whatever, TikTok and all that. I'm talking about enabling them through the IT at the workplace to enhance their skills. You cannot be just saying, we have no experience, so I take the one that 3 years experience. So forever there will be unemployed graduates. Take them. You look at their degree, they're in the right in the right course. You know what I mean? You don't want to take somebody who was doing British history or something like that. It's crazy, right? So, okay, somebody who did the area of finance, business, or law, whatever. Then give them a little bit of head start by incorporating in the workplace itself new knowledge through IT and so on. Guide them, not because they needed guidance, then they're stupid. No. Because there has been this almost 1 year and a half, or not 2 years soon, right? Of interruption of education. Give them that benefit. Because you see, I'm not just talking about motherhood, I'm talking about based on reality. The COVID has diminished a little bit their capacity to bring up their skills level. So you as an employer, take them. Doesn't matter, they're fresh. But you should be doing some, what you call social responsibility to enhance. Otherwise, these guys will never be able to compete in the marketplace.
Talking about employing them, but now I also see there are a lot of young entrepreneurs, right? Upcoming, and
very good.
They're leveraging on digital and technology. There's a question here about how can young entrepreneurs be more competitive in the international market area?
Let me put it this way. Competition in the marketplace, whether domestic, regional, or global, does not look at youth or age, gender, faith, religion. They are all gender neutral, age neutral, faith neutral, religion neutral, whatever. They don't care, right? It's the person they look at. So don't harp on the young, even the oldies, the middle age. You need to enhance your skills. You need to learn anew. Come on. Don't look at these youngsters. They have a lot more time. You're now 40-something. You think you have enough knowledge? God, heavens help. No, I'm 78. So much more to learn. 40s, my God. You haven't reached your pinnacle yet in learning, because things are advancing so fast out there. Facilitated by IT. So the young, don't worry about them. once they're IT savvy, is to guide them how to use IT for the purpose of the business they're in. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, they know IT, but not related to the business that you have employed them for. So make them useful in that context so that they integrate fully into what the marketplace demands now. Don't think that the more senior are already very clever. My God, that's not true. I challenge how many of you entrepreneurs there are really IT savvy? Apart from Instagram, you know, where did I go, where did I eat, and modeling your baju and all that. Please, be real. My hopes on these youngsters, because they are, first of all, they got the knowledge of IT. It may be at this point of time, you know, not focus on work related. But it's not difficult to bring them to the work related area using the IT. That is the main support now, right? Give them incentive. Give them incentive as an employer. Which area you want them to specialize in? Which area you want them to help the business using IT to upgrade? And let them think. Otherwise, it's wasting the talent. Which is, most our youngsters now know IT, but when they start working, the IT must be relevant.
So there's still this question, Tan Sri, here about what can we do to assure our youth that they have a future here, our Malaysian
I tell you
youth?
what, see, why are we talking about this big picture? Go back to your own enterprise. You start them. You start at your own unit, entity. If you are able to help them there, collectively, they are the hope of the nation. Do something at your end. How many members you have in your society, in your organization? SME, how many thousands? If everyone does exactly the same thing, upgrading, enhancing skills of the young, can you imagine collectively the dynamism that you inject into the young generation? I mean, when you start talking about young generation, it's like an impossible task for sure. But if you begin to understand where they are, correct?
And how they contribute.
Exactly. Yeah. Where they are, where they are best fitted, what's relevant for them in terms of guidance and assistance, then they are able to contribute optimally. It's like women lah. Women, that's not true. Some women prefer to stay at home and do nothing. I don't fault them, that's their choice. So talking to them is no point, isn't it? Because they're not interested in all the SWOT, tak SWOT lah. They're happy already. But some of us are having to work and then look after family as well. So you have to think about that in real terms. You can be very savvy, everything in the work, but you're less than savvy as a mother and wife. You end up with broken family. Successful business, but family kaput. Children kaput. We're real, you know, we're humans. I don't like to talk high up in the sky kind of thing. No.
Okay, there's another question here, which may be also a little bit up in the sky, but it says, Salam Tan Sri, what are your thoughts on the growth of tech startups in Malaysia? As we know, our startup ecosystem is lagging behind versus Singapore and Indonesia.
Please, don't talk about motherhood statement, startups, you know, what are these startups? In what area? How do you know that there are no startups in Malaysia? They probably are, but no news about them because they're busy doing their work, occupied, making money or doing what they should be doing, right? But that doesn't mean that we cannot increase the numbers of people doing some innovative business or business based on innovation. There could be future disruptors in the marketplace, from young people, you know, where they really change the business models in that industry because of some new approaches using IT, from production, from planning to production to marketing, right down to payments, you know. The system is so innovative, they actually displace the old model and even displace the old market players. That's possible with people seeing for themselves the opportunities. So that's why I said each one of us will have to look at the SWOT. Opportunities now, where are the opportunities? I mean, I need 3 hours to talk about this, but SWOT is enough to cover the things you need to know to start something that's viable. You may have all the biggest plans in the world, you know, but if you're a weak person, you can't make decisions, your dilly-dally, your time management is very poor, right? You're not being able to control your human resource, right? Your delivery of products will be slow, not according to schedule, things like that. Oh, you're busy as a woman. Busy, busy, busy. I hate the word busy. I don't use it. Everything is busy, you know. Instead of saying you're occupied, you're busy. Watching TV is also busy. So again, these are the weaknesses human, but you minimize them.
Sure, Tan Sri. Okay, shifting the conversation to the education system.
Yeah.
Right? There's a statement here that it looks like our education system is not building us for the future. And do you agree
No.
that we should revamp?
It's moving us backwards.
Yeah. So you agree that we should revamp our education system?
No, I just said it's moving us backwards. We got to, no, wait, let's not talk about the word revamp. Let's start afresh. Let's start with a new normal mental attitude, where let's look at what we have, what we need to do in order to deliver equitable education to all the young people in this country. And which means that it should be Malaysian education. Curriculum that cut across the board, where you teach the same things everywhere so that nobody is given, you know, different levels of education such that there's a hodgepodge of people coming up for education system. Secondly, the content of the education have to be re-looked seriously. We should not have things like religion and all that be made exam items. They should be learning, you know, off curriculum. You know what I mean? You should have moral and sociology off curriculum, religion off curriculum. It should, like my days, we have art, domestic science off curriculum. It comes in the evening, you know. But the curriculum itself is basic. Those days, basic, in other words, what you needed to learn. So today, what is the basic that you need to learn? Look at it. Look at it. Where the experts know, they have given a lot of reports to the government. I know. So go back and look at the report. Don't need to reinvent the wheel. People know already what they need to do. So delivery, content, and tweaking it or adjustments made for the future. But all told, it has to be that heavy content of IT delivery and IT modes, because that's the way education is going now. Okay.
Okay, Tan Sri, thank you, Tan Sri. There's this question here about what is the first thing that you would ask the present Minister of Trade to do right away?
I'm not about to teach people. The former Prime Minister is my student, so good enough already, right? Yeah, Mahidin Yassin was my student in 1975. In university, I taught him. What I'm saying is that a minister should not just make statements. Look at the facts, be real. Don't talk about tens of billions of investment when you know that the investments are not there yet. Just because somebody says, yeah, I intend to marry you. No ring yet, you know. Not even engaged. 2 days later, broke off already. So I would like to see us being realistic about figures and statistics of the economy and so on. Because unless we have right figures, right statistics, you cannot plan properly. It's like giving false hopes and building upon unrealistic foundations. That's all. Be real. If you know that investments are tapering off and all that, admit it, and let's see why people are not investing anymore. For example, the Malaysia, my second home program, doing very well. Then you change it so drastically that it is not going to be welcoming people anymore. You want to make money out of them. Must have money up front. How much and so on. You're not doing business out of it. You're trying to get people who are retirees to come here, live here, buy their homes here, spend here, you know, help to generate the economy. And they're not your little small people, they're people with money, but you don't have to force them to say you must bring in X million. You think they want to be forced to keep money here? When they just make Malaysia a second home, they don't stay here for the whole year anyway. They come here during the winter time to get sunshine. But at that time, they're spending quite a lot. We've been doing this for decades already. Why suddenly want to change? So this is what I mean by, you know, when you have policies that do not match the reality and policies that hinder rather than facilitate.
So in retrospect,
my advice to the government, no particular minister, to all of them together, they're all the same boat.
In retrospect, Tan Sri, right, what was the best thing that you did for trade in Malaysia, you think?
Oh, please lah. I never factor myself in. The last thing you want to do, I want to teach you all, never factor yourself in anything. That's vanity, that's arrogance, that's self-interest. I can't evaluate, I just did my job. Whatever is expected to do, I did and more, if I can. It's up to people to judge. I don't want to go around and say, oh, I was this, I was that. For heaven's sake, that's arrogance. That's being, you know, being vanity, man. Forgot. Nowadays, a 100 days legacy. God, heaven help us. People, you know, are there for 30, 40 years. They don't even think about legacy. Here, 100 days, you count legacy. You see how our standards are gone so low? It's like a business person lah. Wow, 1 million turnover, your empire already. Your bank loans are 2 million. You know, the media. Oh, she has a business empire. He has a business empire. Turnover 2 million. Debts 3 million. You see? Wrong premise, wrong basis. So that's what I'm trying to say when we talk about economy and so on. Everybody in the government, please be real. It does not matter. It's no shame to say our economy shrank. It's no shame to say we're not getting investors, because people understand. Even the investors themselves are facing problems, right? But when we drive them away because of stupid policies, we deserve it. Like this, Malaysia, my second home. It's really a stupid new policy. They deserve it. If people badmouth Malaysia and say, never go there, lah, they change midstream their goalposts. They deserve the blame. We deserve to be blamed. Or when we have rules that are so tight that it's not worth investing here. You know how many percent bumi, tak bumi. But this is ridiculous. The year 2020, for the sake of God. NEP should have finished already by year 2000, correct? It's a 30-year policy. Now you go on to 50 years policy. Now 51 years. I was sitting next to Tun Mahathir when he launched it, you know, new economic policy. The new, Vision 2020, new economic policy. I was already there, but that time Razak was Prime Minister. I was already inside, involved in little way, small way. But what I'm saying is that it was supposed to be ending long time ago, right? Now extended 2021, we're still talking about it. And the marketplace doesn't understand race. Unless you are serving in a bigoted society, a small group lah, you know, where everybody says only we, nobody else can sell. There are communities like that, not in Malaysia lah, but elsewhere, you know, a caste system. We're not. So don't bring in this extraneous matter, you know, into the future of our economy. Only then can we succeed.
Okay, Tan Sri, there is a message here, greetings from Madam Kwan's, an old brand that learned a great deal during the pandemic.
Yeah,
at this juncture, as the country is opening up a bit, we see a gap on unemployment and unable to hire. What do you think that gap represents? You
mean no people?
I think difficulty in hiring.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe people don't know that you've opened up and hiring. Could be, you know, because there are people who were in the restaurant and retail, food retail business before who were retrenched and so on. It's time to start publicizing. That's where the retail association should start now making big noise to say, you know, hey, many of our people have opened up now and they need workers. Please apply. They don't know. Madam Kwan can't be advertising on your own, right? But restaurants are open, dining in open. I can understand. So you need this good news to be made public so that the people who are working for jobs, who have the experience anyway, can come on board. So they don't, because they don't think that everything is all gloomy. Most of them don't read newspapers. No, I also don't read all this, which sector open, tak open kan, it moves from day to day. But there are sectors now that's open fully. Great. So if you're short of workers, please publicize. There are enough people without jobs who want the job, and retrain them with the new normal. You know what I mean? Smart wearing masks, sanitizing, all that. That's what I mean. I know, madam, I home deliver their food every other day.
Okay, Tan Sri, moving on because we have about 10 minutes left. There is a question here about the 51% Bumi requirement, and
I just
that
told
is
you
badly
just now,
timed. And
I did tell
do I
you,
move
right?
my business away, or is there hope here? Is the question.
Now it's not the time for the government to put in such criteria or such requirements of shareholdings. I mean, if I were a foreigner or non-Bumi, having built up my business, I'm not about to, just because the government asked me to, give out 51%. Not even minority nor majority, give to somebody else. This is crazy. And it's not the time to put in restrictions of shares. The young Bumis are now very aware of their capabilities already, right? They just want the opportunity to do business. I mean, come on, let's be real about this. Gone are the times of having criteria of how many percent Bumi, tak Bumi, and all that. That finished. This is a new era, new normal. And if you have a very good Bumi partner ready there, why not? Most welcome, right? But don't force people. Don't force people. They're taking the wrong Bumis who just sit there and warm their seats. Is that what you want? If you want a Bumi, there will be people in the same sector who have the expertise, experience. Maybe they don't have 51%. They can only contribute 1 million. So be it.
So yes, no gender, no race, and no faith at this time issues. Yeah. Okay, there's a question here about GST. And this has been brought out recently. And this is giving us as a business runner a big headache. How do you advise?
What's a business runner?
Sorry, this is from Alliance Bank. What is, so it says,
a business runner.
And this is giving us as a business runner a big headache. How do you advise for us on this issue?
First of all, I want to ask, what's a business runner?
Our economy, yeah. Is there clarification? No.
The GST, the goods and services tax, has been in place for a long, long time. Maybe you call it different names, sales tax, right? So whatever it is, always been taxes on food, retail, services, right? There's always been that small one line there. Whether you call it GST, sales tax, or whatever. An amount is always deducted for the government, right? Or taken away by the government. So that is done everywhere in the world. You name it, one country that doesn't use that. Are you saying that we should abolish it? I don't know. I personally feel that these are places where you are charging the consumer, not the retail premise. You're not charging the owner of the shop. If the consumer doesn't mind paying because, to go to the restaurant, whatever 3% or whatever percent, well, there are enough consumers that can afford to do that. And this is something that you must talk about in terms of amount or rates, rather than a concept. The concept of equity, that's important as well, and the rates that enable people of a certain bracket not to be taxed that way, like income tax, like below threshold and so on. So again, these are the technicalities that they have to look at. But in essence, taxing at the place where the food is consumed, the service provided, be above a certain benchmark, I suppose that is normal for any country to do. So, whatever you call it, sales tax or GST, whatever.
So Tan Sri, thank you for that. And one last question, because you were talking about in the last, I think we've got 3 minutes. In the last, thing about, you mentioned about people, planet, and profit. And so there's this last question here. There is much talk on ESG, basically environment, social and governance by corporate Malaysia, but empirical evidence suggests little or no correlation between embracing ESG and enhanced investment returns. So why should corporate Malaysia take on ESG projects when there is no evidence of investment return? And what are your views on these projects?
My view is that that should be out of the context of investment returns. Don't look at it financially, because if the whole environment of ours gets destroyed, your business may go off too. Simple as that. If you're a developer, you don't build your buildings properly on places that geologically sound. One day the building is going to collapse, your highway is going to collapse, your whole business is going to collapse, your reputation goes. So it's really not to the benefit of the country directly, no, it's to you finally. Of course, the country will suffer if your road that you built collapses, the building collapses. We've had already building collapses. It's not theory anymore, right? Highland Towers collapse. Come on. It's not, I'm talking, and of course the mines, you remember the old Cheras mines collapse? Oh, you're not born yet. The biggest floods that came out because the bunds broke, because of erosion, the mining without proper monitoring of the bunds around there. It collapsed and the whole Cheras went down under the floods, above the rooftops. I don't know how many died. So in other words, eventually the suffering goes to the rakyat who have to be faced with the toxic waste, blah, blah, blah. But that will come back as a boomerang effect on the business itself. Your license may be withdrawn because you have not complied. Correct? Your reputation goes because you are an easy money maker. Forget about your responsibility. So don't measure it in terms of investment returns. That's a chattier way of doing business. No, come on. Have humanity. Ethical business. Ethics have got no price, okay?
So Tan Sri, how do you think we can bring back investors? Because this is so important.
Oh, please. First of all, find out why do people invest in Malaysia. I was for 22 years a minister. What we have to say is that our political environment is very stable. There was a track record of stability. You cannot deny that. Nobody can deny. We tell them that our rules and regulations are always updated to facilitate you. Government is facilitator. They check. Correct. Our costs are relatively much cheaper here than doing elsewhere. I gave them examples. You know, you keep staying in England, even your garage costs more than one condo here. You know, your parity. And there, in the Economist, you can say one garage costs how many thousands of pounds. Here, for that, you can get a huge bungalow. Things like that, you know, you can build a big factory in our industrial estate because the cost is pittance compared to going somewhere else. And we are ready-made human resource, so to speak. I call it ready-made, like they're all there, you know, be graduating from different areas, engineering, blah, blah, all that. And so we have there, of course, there will be the aberrations, you know, where some people are slow in making decisions. We correct from time to time. When they report to us, we correct. Immigration is slow, you know, a permit, working permit, all that. Or even rules and regulations are very slow to be approved, things like that, you know, applications. Of course we admit, but we tell them up front. We don't tell them this is heaven. We tell them you may face this, but please contact us. Because we do have a task force in the ministry made up of MIDA, MITI, and all the agencies that are relevant. Immigration, labor, finance, and they sit there and discuss and approve whatever applications. One level, so they don't have to move around. Just one level, one meeting, all approved. We call it the one level task force. We've been doing this for 20 over years, but after that, when I retired, no more, finito. They do their own thing. This is what we have now. People are complaining. So if you want to bring back people, they remember what it was like before. We can improve on that for sure, not make it worse.
Then we move on to the last wrap up is, okay, the top 3 things that Malaysians need to do now and do better to prepare for the future together. Yeah, what are the top 3 things?
One, be Malaysian and good Malaysians. That's important.
Malaysian and
Right?
good
It
Malaysian.
doesn't matter what you are. You are a Malaysian. Be good Malaysians, which means that this is your country, and add value to it. Secondly, be the best that you are in whatever you do. Whether you're in business, whether you're in government, whatever, be the best that you can, because that will contribute to the nation's good, right? And thirdly, never cease to learn. As you go on in life, doesn't matter how successful you are, there are new things to learn. If you stop learning, that's when you get into a rut, your competitors will overtake you. Whether it is a business, whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's a government. So we should have that mindset. Be Malaysia first, Malaysian first.
Malaysian first, yes.
Think Malaysian, not Malaysia first. Think Malaysian first, and act on it. Don't just think, act on it. Don't tanya who your bapa is, your grandfather is. That's not the point. Okay. Then secondly, try to do your best in your endeavor, but that will contribute to the nation. Whether you're a doctor, you're a salesperson, whatever, do your best. But that generates dynamism for the country, right? And never cease learning. There's so much to learn. If we stop learning, especially when things are around us are happening so fast, that's when we all get into a rut. The government gets into a rut, private sector get into a rut, civil service gets into a rut. Okay?
Thank you so much, Tan Sri. It's been a really enlightening session. Learned so many things and so many facets. Yeah. So I'm going to pass the time back to Grace, Dr. Grace of Milestone Production. Hand it back.
Hi, Tan Sri. Thank you so much for this session. Yeah, now on behalf of Milestone as well as MRCA, I would like to present to you this certificate of appreciation, which we will be sending it to your house. Yeah, unfortunately, can't present it to you in person. Yeah, so this is our certificate of appreciation to you and a memento from MRCA. Thank you so much. And also thank you, Debbie, for moderating this wonderful session. And this is the certificate of appreciation for you, Debbie. Thank you. And lastly, thank you, Alliance Bank, for offering us today our webinar audiences special rebate. Yeah, so you can get on to scan the QR code later, that you could see that in the next slide. Yeah, these are the product offer. Okay, next we will be having the survey for this event. Kindly scan the QR code. So we would like to hear from you. How could we do better? Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and stay safe and stay well. Good night. Thank you.
My husband, Alan, is in charge of paying our bills, but I always have to remind him to pay on time. Have you paid our home loan? Credit card? Personal loan? Car loan?
I signed us up for the Alliance One account. It offers a hassle-free loan consolidation service. Now, we pay one lower monthly repayment for all our loans.
What about...
All sorted. Life is simpler with Alliance One account.